Matthew Tkachuk is a goddamn legend. What an overtime finish. Anderson was furious, but behind the net, takes it out in front, beats Anderson with only a few seconds left in the third period. That would propel the Florida Panthers to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. They'll be taking the Prince of Wales trophy home and have the opportunity to raise the greatest trophy in all of sports, Lord's Stanley Cup. Florida would start out really strong with only 41 seconds into the game. Anthony Duclair off an assist from Barkov would bury it home for a 1-0 Florida Panther lead. And then about a minute later, Sam Bennett makes a clean hit on Slavin and takes him out for the rest of the game. That was a massive loss for this Hurricanes defense, but hats off to them, they would keep on fighting. Matthew Tkachuk would get his second goal on a snapshot assisted from Ekblad and Forsling. Carolina would finally get on the board, Stastny burying home this loose puck, 2-1 Florida. And then later on in this period, we would see Matthew Tkachuk get hit in a very sensitive area by Brett Burns. These two teams do not like one another. We would go into the first intermission with a 2-1 Florida Panthers lead. Starting out the second period, pretty early on, Tara Vinen gets a nice snapshot off, and we got ourselves a tied game. About 7 minutes later, on a beautiful pass from Staal to White over to Lomberg, Florida would take a 3-2 lead. That would be the score until the third period when Foss takes a nice wrist shot to get past Bobrovsky. We're tied at 3-3, and we would get pretty late into the game, and I thought we would be going to another overtime, but as earlier in the video, Matthew Tkachuk, the legend himself, gets the goal with 4 seconds left to take the Florida Panthers to the promised land. Hats off to the Carolina Hurricanes. They did get swept in this series, but it did not feel like a sweep. A lot of these games were close, could have gone either way. They had a tremendous season, but they ran into the buzzsaw known as the Florida Panthers. And as for Panther fans, you have to be excited what you see. Your goalie's playing very well. Your team has such mental toughness and never quits in games and just has that it factor in this playoff run. Whether they're up a goal, down a goal, gets tied late, they just find ways to win these games, and it's a lot of fun to watch. A little nerve-wracking, I assume, if you're a Panthers fan, but wow. Hats off to these Panthers. They beat the Bruins, they beat the Maple Leafs, and then they beat the Hurricanes. 3 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They deserve to represent the East in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'd be interested to know what your main takeaways of this game was. I'm Captain Paul, and I'll see you in the next one.
And Florida is headed